The Middle Way Podcast with Pat and Saman.
I want to welcome our special guest today, Shawn Buckley, who is a constitutional lawyer and president of the Natural Health Products Protection Association. Welcome, Shawn.
Well, thank you. I'm really glad to be here.
A lot of concerns, and there were some questions that folks wrote in, and I think they kind of speak a little bit to the whole issue of the legal side of it and the constitutional side. So one person wrote, so why is the government doing this when they've admitted that Omicron has changed the pandemic to an endemic and the medical system is going to start treating it like a flu? How can the government continue to push these vaccines and mandates on us over a flu? I feel like we've lost all our rights. What's happened to our country? Do we have any rights left anymore? What can ordinary citizens and Canadians do to stop this insanity? So those are a couple of the comments and questions.
So can I just weigh in on that, because it's interesting as my phone rings off the hook whenever the government is going to impose a new thing. So when BC was first announcing that they were going to mandate for healthcare workers that they had to be vaccinated, my phone started ringing off the hook. And the government knows all of this is illegal. All of this stuff is illegal. It's just been in my opinion, a criminal enterprise from day one. Think of the money involved. If they could get governments to pay for 2 flu shots each season, an influenza one and a coronavirus one, because roughly 20% of our flus each year in the flu season are coronavirus. Tons of money there. Well, they've never gone through the animal studies, because too many animals die. Now, they solved that problem this time by not doing animal studies. And anyone who's read the Nuremberg Code, you don't start human trials until you've done animal studies to inform you on the safety issues. You can't read the Nuremberg Code and miss that one. So, from the very beginning,
Do you think most people know that they know that there were no animal trials at all?
No, they don't. And most people don't know that you can't. Can anyone here on this call, can any of your listeners tell us what the ingredients are? It's a rhetorical question because the total ingredients have not been disclosed to anyone. Go to your pharmacist and ask to see the insert that comes to the pharmacist, not the public one, that's supposed to give the pharmacist the information that they need. So you tell me which pharmacist in Canada is not committing criminal negligence by injecting people with an experimental vaccine, which the pharmacist doesn't know what's in it, let alone being able to inform the patient. Like, help me out here. Which one is not committing criminal negligence? Is there a single one that's let's say this does turn out to be so horrifically dangerous that the initial reports of deaths and disablement continue to skyrocket as this goes forward. Is there going to be a pharmacist in Canada who's not in jail? And I just wrote 2 letters today to 2 major news outlets just asking, or suggesting they start investigating, how authorities, including themselves, are going to be liable criminally when, if it does turn out that this has been a huge misadventure, and that's being as generous as I could possibly be based on the data that's coming in. So, but obviously I'm doing that to let them know that they're not going to walk away from this scot-free, that people have to start thinking about, people that have been hurting other people have to start thinking about, well, is there any liability that they're facing? But the whole thing has been a criminal enterprise from the beginning. Expert after expert saying there's no medical case for vaccinating kids. And so if a parent does that, is a parent criminally liable? Can I just read to you the definition of criminal negligence?
Please do.
And then I'd like to talk about employers. So 219 of the Canadian Criminal Code defines what criminal negligence is, and then later sections, depending on the results, so there's criminal negligence causing bodily harm, and then criminal negligence causing death, and the penalty is higher for death than bodily harm. So 219 of the Criminal Code, everyone is criminally negligent who, in doing anything, or in omitting to do anything that it's his duty to do shows wanton or reckless disregard for the lives and safety of others. Now, parents have a duty to take care of their kids and be reasonably informed in making health decisions for their kids. I mean, let's say outside of COVID, you go to a doctor and the doctor goes, well, there's this emergency authorization treatment for something. I can't tell you what the ingredients are. There's lots of reports of people dying and being seriously injured. And the risk to your child from this disease of dying or being seriously injured is really nothing. Will you take this? Let's give this shot to your kid. I mean, you tell me you're not committing criminal negligence if you say yes. But you have a responsibility to inform yourself. If you're a parent and you're making decisions for your kids, you have a responsibility. And if you've got this idea in your head that you turn on the TV and you're getting the truth, start checking. I mean, even the term anti-vax, like, are people too stupid to realize that that is a pejorative term being put out by the mainstream media to basically discredit information without you actually listening to it? It's a term that causes you to close your mind. Oh, they're an anti-vaxxer, meaning I'm not going to listen. It's actually, it hurts you because it closes your mind. It doesn't close the other person's mind, but you're being trained not to listen to a group of people because of a label that's been given. These employers that are saying, I'm going to fire you unless you get jabbed. They're forcing their staff to make a medical decision. And they'll say, no, I don't have the authority to tell them to do it. It's still their personal choice. Yeah, they got 5 kids and a mortgage, and their kids are going to be on the street and starving in 3 weeks if they lose their job. They have a choice. You're choosing to impose a medical decision on them. Oh, employer, have you looked into the data? You're basically telling them they're going to lose their job unless they take an experimental treatment. So when they're putting this, you're going to lose your job, you're a healthcare worker or government employee, or you can't fly, or you can't enter public spaces. Well, we have a choice, but we really don't have a choice. I mean, I know so many people, to save their job, took the jab when they didn't want to take the jab. And you guys are, you know it too. So this hasn't been voluntary. And like, does Premier Kenney not understand he could be in jail for the rest of his life if, what people are worried about happening happens? Because the evidence, if it turns out that these jabs are as dangerous as some of the and some really high caliber experts are saying, if that pans out, and let's hope it doesn't pan out, how are people like Premier Kenney going to avoid imprisonment? Like, I don't understand it. And yet they're so brazen and just push on. Like, I'm just going, like, do you not know what the law is? Like, do you not know that you have a responsibility to educate yourself? Like, you're taking away fundamental rights and just pure propaganda to enforce us to take an action that could be dangerous. Like, how do you think you're going to be okay at the end of this?
We've had flu season and there's flu shots available. I don't remember anyone ever saying, you don't get your flu shot, you're going to lose all these rights. You're going to be ostracized. You may lose your job. You won't be able to travel. And you have to go into some kind of a quarantine hotel or camp if you try, or if you refuse to get the shot. Or you might be fined, like they're doing in Austria, or setting up to do in Austria, fined or jailed because you didn't get your flu shot.
Well, what kind of country do we want to live in? Because as awful as this is, the beautiful thing is all of us, for the first time in our lives, actually have to choose, who are we going to be? Because your actions make a difference. You go to that restaurant and flash your QR code, you're putting your kids towards police state and Chinese social credit. Full stop, no ambiguity there. You want to go to that friggin' hockey game, you show your QR code, you are marching your children and your grandchildren to a police state. There's no ambiguity there. You're choosing who you are going to be and the type of country your kids are going to live in. So we get to choose. This is really important. For those of us that believe we're here to learn lessons and choose who we're going to be, you're choosing right now, whether you know it or not. This is a pivot point in history right now. And people like Brian Peckford are standing forward and trying to make a difference, and you need to. You have to start putting pressure on the other side. Like today, I wrote 2 letters to the media asking, are you guys going to be liable? Like, very polite. Don't threaten, don't get emotional, but you let people know they're going to be held to account. We're in an information war. We're in a rights war. If we don't stand up, they're gone. I mean, they've been taken from us. We thought we had them because we misunderstood you don't have rights just because the government tells you you have rights. You only have rights when you're willing to fight for them and you're willing to pay the cost for them. We're learning that. So who are you going to be?